10 years of Marvel movies and a few years of hot toy collecting. I knew there was a reason for it. To finally put them on the shelf in this review. That's why I bought them. Avengers Infinity War might be a very anticipated film that a lot of people have been looking forward to. It's directed by the Russo brothers and stars everyone. And as most of you know from the trailers, Thanos is trying to collect all of the Infinity Stones so that he can punch people a lot and blow stuff up, and he's a big bad person, and it's a big movie, and it's going to be hopefully really good. And for the most part, Marvel has done a really good job of understanding what these characters are to so many fans around the world, and making a lot of unpretentious movies that are just a lot of fun. And Infinity War is another one of those. This is a very fun and exciting movie, if you view it specifically as what it is. An action movie with a bunch of superheroes and a lot of craziness happens that I can't really get into because spoilers are bad and I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. There's definitely an argument to be made about whether or not it's even worth it to review a movie like this, if there's any merit to the actual review if you can't get into spoilers, because there's so much I'd love to talk about, but I can't because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. This is more of a recommendation because there's just so much I can't talk about, and I want to be tight-lipped about the things that occur in this film, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I did see it today, all 2 hours and 30 minutes of it, and for the most part I enjoyed myself quite a bit. My biggest issues with the film, look at those out of the way first. It can be a bit uneven. By taking all of these characters that have been set up by other writers and other filmmakers and putting them under the control of a few writers and a few filmmakers, it can make people do things that seem out of character for what we're accustomed to, because now we have a new group of filmmakers taking over a whole bunch of different people that have already been introduced in other films. We have Doctor Strange, Scott Derrickson made a very good movie. The Guardians, James Gunn made 2 good movies. And now they're all in one place, and sometimes the characters don't always act the way you expect them to act. And the first half of the film does feel a little clunky at times because we're balancing a lot of really harsh emotions. Different scenes are on whole different levels because there are so many people in this movie, and that makes sense when you have characters that are in different places, and some of them have never even met before. And this is a monumental task, and I have to give major kudos to the Russo brothers because I can't even imagine how difficult it was to balance all of this. I understand how hard it is to make just a tiny movie. A thing like this is just unfathomable to me right now. I can't even imagine the amount of effort and strenuous work that went into producing this movie that, again, I actually really enjoyed. That's most negatives out of the way, so let's get into the positives. Thanos is awesome. There are a few shots where the effects don't quite work, but for the most part, it's actually really impressive. Josh Brolin does an amazing job. This is a very scary villain where it feels like there's actual stakes. As soon as he appears, it doesn't really seem like anyone's safe, which is something the other Marvel movies were lacking. It's just really refreshing to have a Marvel villain that seems like he could do some real damage. There's no big island lifting into the sky and a bunch of heroes making sure they save the day. This is a film about desperation. All of these characters are just trying to figure out what they can possibly do, and a lot of them are scrounging for any details they can learn about Thanos because this is a very contained film, surprisingly. And the fact that it is so breakneck for all of the people in the movie, it doesn't really give them a chance to breathe. And as an audience member, it doesn't really give us a chance to breathe either. As usual with most Marvel movies, the humor is on point. It's really wonderful to see these characters interacting. You could tell the Russo brothers and the writers, they picked character dynamics that would play off each other the best. They place certain characters in other places, and they all have their own little adventures they're trying to do with the ultimate goal of discovering how they can defeat Thanos. By taking these people and separating them into groups, the writers were able to maximize the humor they got out of those groups, and that really helped the movie be a lot more entertaining than I thought it was going to be, because it does kind of market itself as a very dark and dour film. And yes, this is definitely more, I don't want to say gritty, but just more hopeless, I guess, than your average Marvel movie, but it's still very funny when it needs to be. When it comes to shaky cam and action films, very few filmmakers are able to pull it off well. The Russo brothers, I think, are some of the better ones with The Winter Soldier and Civil War, but here they actually dial it back a little bit. There's definitely more of an attempt to be more locked down and grander. This film was shot entirely on IMAX cameras at first, and so they definitely utilized that format because this is a huge movie, and every scene feels huge. But aside from those beat-em-up action scenes that everybody's waiting to see, which I admittedly had a great time watching, what kept this movie going for me were these characters, the heroes and the villain. And that's something the MCU has relied on a lot. Since we all have been kind of built up to enjoy these characters since the beginning, and we've seen them through so many adventures, the film doesn't always have to worry about setting things up, and we can just place them in an environment and see what they would do. It's the same reason certain TV shows that have been so long running are successful. You can have characters that people really enjoy. Maybe they're not doing something as interesting as other episodes, but because you like those characters already, you're having a better time watching it, no matter what they're doing exactly. I think overall Infinity War is going to please most people. It has some very shocking elements. It has a few disappointing elements. Some characters do things that, as I said, seem out of character, but beyond that, this is a blast of a Marvel movie that does have some issues, but in the long run, I'm excited to see it again. And I want to see what happens next, because I really have no idea what they're going to do. And that's a rarity. That's one of my biggest praises to Infinity War, is that I really don't know where they're going to go. I have no clue. I'm going to give Avengers Infinity War a B+. I really had to commend the Russo brothers for being able to balance everything as well as they did, despite some uneven elements. As you guys know, on my Quiet Place review, I have started a Stardust account. It's a place where I can upload my thoughts on trailers, episodes of TV shows, or movies, and I'm doing that there. And a lot of you have followed me, and it's cool to converse with you guys there. And like on my Quiet Place review, you guys sent me some thoughts about that film, and I included them in the video, and I was able to interact with you guys, and it's just a fun way to be able to incorporate you guys into my videos, and I have some reactions from Infinity War to go through now.
Two big concerns. One, I don't want Thanos just to be an empty villain. I want him to have a purpose for what it is he's trying to do. And two, looks like there are far, far too many characters in this movie. I don't want it to be Iron Man 6 with Tony Stark, Captain America, and about 127 cameos. That's my biggest concern right now.
Totally understand those worries. I think that they pulled off Thanos. I think he's pretty intimidating, and this did not feel like another Iron Man movie or another Captain America movie. Everyone got their chance to shine, really. It wasn't just like, oh, hey, there's that person. Oh, hey, there's that person. Really, everyone got a nice amount of screen time to show us what they're worth.
In all seriousness, I've been a Marvel fan since I was 3, since I watched Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man for the first time. I remember 2008 sitting in the theater, watching Iron Man 1 for the first time, little 8-year-old me. Here we are 10 years later with one of my most anticipated movies in a while, so let's get it.
I still have the visual in my mind of the after credit scene of Iron Man. My friends and I were still in the theater, and we were talking, and we weren't expecting anything else to happen, and here comes Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, saying he wants to talk to Tony about the Avengers initiative. And we all just kind of looked at each other like, wait a second, what?
What's up, Chris? In preparation for this review, I got my cat that looks like T'Challa behind me. Say hi, baby. Say hi. I don't love me right now, but it's all good. There has been an unbelievable hype around Infinity War. I hope it becomes like a different movie, has a different feel, like, say, Black Panther and Spider-Man Homecoming feel. It still had the Marvel formula, but it still felt different enough. Hope it lives up to that expectation. Let me know what you think.
Nice cat, man. I think this film does feel unique, mostly because of Thanos and the fact that it actually explores his mind a little bit. He's not just big, strong punch guy. Like, he actually has an interesting backstory, and they did a good job of personalizing this film for him. And so I do think it feels fresh in that way, even though it definitely has a lot of the same things we expect to see in a Marvel movie.
A little nervous about Avengers Infinity War. Not that I haven't enjoyed other Marvel movies. I think they're perfectly fine, passable fun. However, I do feel that this movie looks like it's going to be really overcrowded and really messy, and potentially even sort of undermine its own tone, because it's going for a darker tone when a lot of what's been set up in the MCU at least has been very lighthearted and sort of setting up these heroes as invincible. So I think that the tone switch might not actually work and might play out really badly.
All valid concerns, and there are times where the film definitely suffers from an issue of different tone. But it's so hard because you're trying to be truthful to all of these characters and where they are in their lives. And since they're all from different films and they all have different backstories and different situations they're in, obviously they're not all going to feel the same way. And so the tone is going to be all over the place as we switch between these different storylines. And that's the struggle. I think that probably the Russo brothers had a lot of meetings about that. And they have done a pretty great job of balancing it, I'd say. Guys, thank you so much for watching this review. Please do follow me on Stardust. There's a link for that in the description below. There I can talk about tons of things, and it's just a nice platform for me to be able to talk about things that I don't always do YouTube videos about. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. Thank you to everybody who sent in reactions. You guys are the best, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.